Good morning, my friends. It's day one, week one of this $25 approximately a week budget challenge, or $100 for 4 weeks. First, I want to show you what I found on my walk last night. I found some black cap raspberries, and in here is a few sour cherries. So remember, I said I will be using foraged foods. So this makes a nice bit of fruit for me today. I also went to the garden and I found some, this is chocolate mint and a few stevia leaves. I made this last night. What I do is I put the mint, of course it's washed, and the stevia into my pitcher, and I cover it with very warm water, and it makes a delicious tea. You could drink it hot or cold. It's summertime. I'm going to drink it cold, and it's just very minty and refreshing. So that's a little bit for the forage stuff. We do not normally eat breakfast here. We do more of a brunch between 11 and 12. So I'm going to be making a couple of things for that. And the first recipe is going to start with 1 egg, 1 banana, and I have 2 tablespoons of flour here. Okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to separate the egg. I need the egg white, which I'm going to whip, and I'm going to mix the yolk, the banana well smashed, and the flour together, and I'll show you how I combine it at the end. For a topping, well, I'm going to use some of the blackberries, I think, for the pancakes. For the topping, I'm making a sort of pseudo syrup. It is 6 tablespoons of brown sugar and 3 tablespoons of water. I'm going to put that on the stove. I'm going to cook it till it's at a good rolling boil for about a minute. And then I'm going to drop in 1 tablespoon of my margarine. I would much prefer butter, but margarine's what I have. If you happen to have maple flavoring or vanilla, it makes it a little bit richer, but it can be done with just these 3 ingredients. So let me get started and I'll show you how things look. I'm going to show you with this syrup first because it does take a bit of attention. I do not want to burn it. So as you can see, it's at a good boil. It just started. Remember, that's just brown sugar and water. Now, if you do not have butter or you do not have any to spare, margarine, whatever, you could simply do this with equal parts brown sugar and water. That's one of the reasons I purchased the brown sugar. So I'm going to let this thicken up just a little bit. I can see it starting to leave the bottom of the pan. This takes minutes because I'm not doing a huge batch. All right, so that's thickening up. You can see how I'm leaving nice things away from the bottom of the pan. Turn off the heat. I'm going to add my tablespoon of margarine and stir it in. That gives it kind of a buttery, toffee kind of flavor. So if you don't want to add the butter or the margarine, that's fine. Just use equal parts of brown sugar and water. So I'm going to mix this together until it's melted and let it cool down a little bit because I don't need it quite that hot. And I'm going to get back to making my pancakes. All right, I wanted just to see, this makes about 1/3 of a cup of the syrup, and as it cools, it will thicken a bit. So on to the pancakes. As you can see, I have my banana very well smashed and the egg yolk in here. If you do not have flour or you do not want to go through whipping up the egg white, which I'll show you in a second, you can mix just banana and 1 whole egg, and you can cook those as pancakes. They are pretty flat. I like my pancakes super light and fluffy, so I add a couple of additional things. If you want to make these gluten-free, take some oats if you have them, about 1/4 of a cup, turn it into flour by blending it, and you can use that in place of regular flour. So I have 2 tablespoons here of plain all-purpose flour that I purchased as part of my monthly budget. I'm going to stir that in. Okay, I'm going to get rid of the fork. And I'm going to use my spatula to get the excess flour into the mix. Okay, the next step I did was I took my egg white and I whipped it to a stiff peak. You can see how it's standing up there. It's just this step, to me, makes them better because the egg whites give it some body. I'm going to put in a portion of my egg white, okay? And I'm just going to lighten this up a little bit by mixing it in. And then I'm going to add the rest. This step is important. You don't want to just stir it in. You don't want to beat it in. You're going to fold it in, which is cutting through the middle, bringing up from the bottom until it is almost completely incorporated. You want those egg whites to stay as fluffy as possible. And that's going to give you those big, puffy pancakes. I do have my pan heating on a medium-low temperature. So there you go. We have a nice light batter. So now it's just a matter of frying them up. First one, I always do a small one because I don't know why. My first pancake rarely turns out. So you can see how light and puffy that is. And for me, I'm going to drop a couple of my black raspberries in them, so that I have blackberry pancakes. Just want to get them in there a little bit. I'm going to fry that up. Of course, just like every other pancake, you're going to flip them. I put them on a rack to cool, except for the ones I'm eating, and I'll show you the finished when we're done. All right, my first pancake is done. I'm going to drizzle on some of my syrup. See, it's not too thin. And I think I'm going to throw on a couple additional blackberries since I have them. And I'm going to eat this for breakfast with my mint tea. For dinner tonight, I have sauteing some carrots and onion in some oil. I have made a large pot of rice, which I intend to have quite a bit left over for another meal. That was cooked with some of that chicken broth from the chicken that I prepped. It adds a little extra calories and flavor and just makes it a more rounded meal. I have some of the chicken that I prepped. There's about 2 cups in there. And then I have my sauce. That's going to be our meal for tonight. And I have to tell you, I am extremely disappointed in the amount of chicken I got off that 4 pounds. Once I took, they add some water to it. Once I took the bones and the skin out, I ended up with 26 ounces of chicken. I was hoping closer to 36 so I could get quite a few meals out of it. But between this and this, it's all I have left. So the big takeaway I'm getting from this is that you may have to relook at your food plan and have an alternate meal, which now that I have cooked the chicken, I can make some chicken soup to replace a different chicken meal that I was planning on making. There is my bowl of sweet and sour. I decided to take one of the pineapple rings and slice it up on top for a little extra sweetness. And there's lots of carrot in there and rice. So that's dinner for day number 1. I am excited to show you what I found on my foraging trip today. I found some more cherries, probably half of that. I found some beautiful raspberries and quite a bit more of the blackberries. And I think I'm going to save, I don't know, I haven't decided yet. I'd like to get this container full, but I don't know, I love them. So I think tonight's snack is going to be some of these because I wait all year. I don't buy them from the store unless they're super, super good or local. And I am dying to have some raspberries. I wanted to pop back real quick and show you how my ferment's going. You can see it's been about 10 hours. There's a little bit of that's actual kind of like an alcohol on top. So my ferment's ready to go, and I'm going to feed that some more flour and water so that I can make some dough. Anyways, if you have any questions, please feel free to let me know, and have a wonderful day.